Welcome to the SMEFocus show, powered by MTDCNC. I'm Mark Weymouth from the Sensor Specialist Plus Automation, and I'm your host this week, highlighting aspects of UK manufacturing and, in particular, topics of interest to SMEs. My guest today is Jason Mashinchi, Managing Director of Cambridge Kinetics, the parent company of Kinetics. It's a business management software which aims to help SMEs harness the power of AI to overcome barriers, streamline workflows, and future-proof their operations. Hi, Jason. Welcome to SMEFocus.
Thanks for having me. Delighted to be here.
Well, let's see if you say that after 30 minutes, but it's a pleasure to have you. Thanks. So, can I ask, it seems strange because you're obviously much younger than myself and quite a bit of the audience, but can I ask by kicking off and asking a little bit about your backstory and your passion for software? What inspired your interest and how did this lead to you becoming a software engineer?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've kind of always been into software engineering since I was a kid. My dad got me started probably at the age of 7 with Visual Basic, and I kind of fell in love with software since then. So I ended up working in a number of software consulting roles, did a computer science degree up in York several years ago, and then ended up doing a manufacturing and management degree here in Cambridge about 4 years ago now. And basically through that journey of being involved in a whole bunch of different companies, everything from Philips Research all the way to kind of Cambridge Design Partnership and some of the other smaller software consultancies, really kind of fell in love with trying to help businesses improve operations, improve systems through software, because I got fed up of seeing so many organizations dealing with spreadsheets all day long. And really trying to get my teeth into solving those problems is really kind of what got me into software and what got me into what I'm doing today.
Okay, cool. So prior to you founding Cambridge Kinetics, you worked, I noticed, for 5 projects as part of the Institute of Manufacturing at the University of Cambridge. I know they were quite short periods, so probably quite intense little projects.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that was very interesting, and would I be right in thinking it was also informative for you then going on and founding your own business?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was part of my university degree. So as part of the course
Okay.
at the IFM, we did 4 placements across loads of different organizations, so everything from electric bike manufacturing to electronics component ordering, and then all the way to kind of helping startups figure out what software they need to run the business. So very, very good experience. Ended up doing some time in cardboard factory, really looking at waste optimization and different parts of the process and where waste cardboard products work. So really kind of gave me my taste of working around a factory, looking at, okay, how are different parts of the operations working and how can we join all these things up to make people's life more efficient. And actually, after graduating, I decided to set up Cambridge Kinetics, really because I wanted to try and help small companies out there digitize, so stop moving everything around on paper and really trying to organize operations. Really wanted to try and help companies organize that data, and that's what I started Cambridge Kinetics to do.
Okay, so Cambridge Kinetics has sort of transitioned from that consultancy-based business that you first founded, sort of offering to consult on the knowledge that you'd gained, to much more now of a product-based business with Kinebase. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey, but maybe start off by explaining what Kinebase does?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kinebase is our flagship software product. It's essentially a workflow management tool designed for small businesses trying to organize data. So everything from your sales process, so tracking your customers, contacts, opportunities, all the way through to delivery. So all the processes up to the point at which you invoice a client. And these differ between companies. So we've got clients on everything from security firms to agriculture to high-tech consulting in Cambridge, all using very similar tools, because every business at the end of the day has clients and every business has sales, every business has stuff you have to deliver for the project. So it's really all about how do we help companies organize this data and free up people's time. So the transition really came about starting off. So we started off doing consulting projects for clients. We found ourselves reinventing the wheel quite a lot. So a lot of our clients were asking for the same kinds of things. So we need a database to organize asbestos testing. We need a database to organize our farming, or we need a database to organize our sales and projects and opportunities. And actually, there's a lot of common elements across all of those. There's a lot of common analytics, a lot of common data entry. And we found ourselves kind of reinventing the wheel a lot. So what we did is ended up spending the past couple of years really investing in Kinebase and in AI, really trying to how do we help small businesses adopt AI and optimize these operations. And off the back of that, ended up building Kinebase, and we've got some fantastic tools in there which allow customers to basically type in what you want the system to do using English, and it will turn that into a database for you.
Okay, and what differentiates it from a CRM system or a contact-based system or an ERP system? Does it sit outside? Does it overlap? Maybe you can explain that to me, and then particularly from an SME focus, how relevant is it to SMEs?
Yeah, absolutely. So traditionally, if you want to go and set up a system for your business, you're looking at a whole bunch of different packages. Some of them are extremely expensive, but at the end of the day, traditionally the software has been hard coded, so it works the way the software works. You just change your process to fit the software. One of the things we really tried to do was, how do we allow the software to adapt to the way you want to work? So the only constant in business is change. SMEs, you're always learning stuff every single day. There's always a new project coming down. There's always another exception. There's always new ideas. And we see it's so common for software to be stuck. It was set up one way, you can't then change it. What we're trying to do is give operations directors, give managing directors the tools to really set up a system in the way they want it to work. So using AI, let's say you're starting a new manufacturing business, you can type into the type of problems and information you want to track, and it will then give you somewhere to put all that data and link it all together. So actually, when any of your clients ring up, you can then see all the equipment you've sent out to their site. You can then see all the logistics, all the ordering in one place, speaking your language. So it's really all about showing you the information you need for your business in the right place. And the real advantage is, as you think of new things you want to track in the business, you've got somewhere to put it. So whether it's trying to track what logos and company colors you've got, all the way through to expenses, project management, all of that kind of stuff, instead of having 300 spreadsheets dotted around SharePoint, you can't find anything. You've got a really, really powerful data structure, and you can find things in a couple of clicks.
Okay. I guess it's a nature that a lot of the customers that I have in my business tend to be sort of project-based businesses. So therefore, they obviously always talk about aspiring to have a product rather than this pain of reinvention every different project. You've obviously done this transition of going from project-based to being much more product-based. So what are your sort of thoughts on that journey? Is it the nirvana, is the grass always greener, the other side of the fence that so many people seem to think it is in my world?
Yeah, it's a really hard one, because actually the nice thing with an agency-based business or a project-based business is you've got income pretty much straight away. The challenge with the product business is you've got a long lead time when you're building that product, you're building the software behind it. So it's not necessarily an overnight success. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of trying to figure out the marketing, figure out the sales, figure out how to put the customer support processes in place. So it's not necessarily an easy transition. But for what we were doing, we were actually finding ourselves solving the same problems we were doing in the consulting work beforehand in a fraction of the time and effort. So we can actually help so many more clients than we used to be able to off the back of that. Yeah, it's not an easy transition, but it's well worth it if you can get the business model right, and there's a clear demand and product market fit for what you're producing. But I think from my perspective, I found it really helpful actually having done those client projects in the first place, because it meant we could learn so much about the industry, learn the different ins and outs of how those projects need to work and how these systems need to fit for real businesses. And actually what we've done is we've taken all those learnings, and we're actually bringing a lot of our older clients with us into the Kinebase journey, and really trying to help them and be able to deliver more value for kind of less investment on their part. So yeah, really, really exciting stuff from our side.
Okay. I know that you received a grant from Innovate UK to sort of build the AI capabilities of Kinebase.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how this came about? I guess what the benefits of AI are, and also to what extent is the AI visible to the end user, or is it just, it's the secret sauce of what makes a flexible, intelligent system? Because sometimes I think people are scared of AI, and if you talked about, well, it's just machine learning, it adapts, and sort of, it's almost as if the word AI is used so often now that it puts people off, and sometimes it's sort of, is it the secret sauce, or is it something they can see?
So I have an approach to AI is I don't think as AI is a tool, I think it should be behind the scenes, not front and center. It should help you do your job. So you know what you want to achieve, whether it's trying to deliver the best customer service you can, whether it's finding something in your database, regardless of what it is you're trying to achieve. AI should really be a tool to help you get there. So what we're trying to do is make it invisible. So if you think, oh, I want to see my sales last month of widget X or whatever it is, you should be able to type that in English, and then the system will figure out how to get that data for you based on what you've asked it. So whether it's analytics around the business, KPIs, you could ask it a question, whatever question you want, and the AI will actually go and figure out how to turn that question, how to do all the database queries, how to figure out where that data is coming from to present you the answers you're looking for. But as far as you're concerned as a user, it's actually you type into the search box what you want, and it will go and figure it out behind the scenes. And then there's other kind of technologies we built. So there's a really, really handy feature which takes an email and turns it into a task list. And the way we've labeled it is suggest tasks. So you paste in your email, you press suggest tasks, and it will then go and assign those to different members of your team and make suggestions on what needs to be done next based on email trails. And that's really handy because it saves a ton of time. But it's really simple. And actually, we're trying to say what it does in the tin. We don't want to have some whizzy AI jargon that no one can understand. It's trying to keep it really simple and speak the same language everyone does day to day. So that's really our kind of philosophy behind how we've designed the AI. And then on the Innovate UK side of things, actually, we've been very fortunate to be based in St John's Innovation Centre here in Cambridge. And they've got a fantastic innovation and growth team in the building. Okay. So actually, it came off a conversation with one of their team. And then we applied for a grant, and we're very fortunate to have been able to have won that around boosting productivity for small businesses.
And have you got an AI tool that helps filling in the grant applications easy? Because that's a grumble I also hear from people, but maybe I won't ask you to comment on that.
I mean, actually, that's actually quite possible with the tool we've got.
Excellent.
We've actually got a client just around the corner who's using it to do bid management and grant creation. So that they've got a library of the templates they use to keep track of the different answers to common questions you have for tenders and bids and things. Actually, the tool we've got lets them build a database for that without having hundreds of files in SharePoint.
Okay, interesting. Talked early on about your sort of doing several different placements and experiences throughout your degree, and also you're a young person, a business owner, so I'm assuming that that means that your eyes and hopefully your ears are very wide open, and you're sort of going out into the world and learning new things, and also maybe challenging what people say. What observations have you got? What do you find puzzling, funny, frustrating about SME manufacturing businesses with that fresher set of eyes?
See, from my perspective, having grown up with technology, having grown up with the internet, everything, and going into a factory around Cambridge and they're still operating on paper and filing cabinets. And in my head, that's absolutely crazy, because computers can do this stuff so much better than people can, and they don't forget things, and they remember everything, and they can show you just the views of data you need to improve the operations. And the fact there's paper being floated around in factories and people scribbling on these what needs doing, and they're getting lost or damaged in the process and things get missed, it impacts customer service. So from my perspective, coming at it from a fresh pair of eyes, the fact a lot of businesses still haven't digitized or still haven't adopted AI as well as they could have done is quite eye-opening. And I think the other thing to say is actually a lot of these factories, I can understand why things have been done the way they have, and it's always worked for so long. But we've got to move with the times, and I think the way the country's going and the way the competition from overseas, there's a huge opportunity to really digitize a lot of UK manufacturing and adopt some of these tech to try and help free up valuable resources, valuable time, and put that on much more important things. So I think there's a lot of work to be done around that, I'm sure.
It's interesting, I guess. Many of us sort of in the manufacturing world are very guilty of thinking, well, you can use automation and robotics to replace boring, repetitive tasks. But it's quite hard to have that same conversation when you're talking about the office and the same boring, repetitive tasks. You know, the conversation is identical, but there's a blindness to it.
And I think a lot of business owners and businesses think their systems are simple. They think, oh, I've only got a very simple spreadsheet. When I get a phone call, it just goes in there and it all gets handled. But when you dig into the process, it actually gets quite complicated, because it's not just a okay, someone rings up wanting something serviced. Okay, what happens next? Someone's got to take that spreadsheet, transform it so they've got their list of activities to send out to an engineer or to send to an operator. So there's a whole bunch of spreadsheets and interdependencies. I think actually if companies take a step back and actually take a look at their processes end to end and really start saying, okay, what information do I need to track? How does this then flow onto the next person in their role? What do they need to see? Actually, what goes from something that sounds really simple becomes really quite complicated, especially when you consider all of the different edge cases and exception handling. And okay, 99% of the time our customers are in these two categories, but then sometimes a client wants something a bit different. So how do we handle that? And I think part of the reason we built Kinebase is a lot of the existing software is not customizable. You can't really adapt it to change with those exceptions. And actually, you don't necessarily know what these exceptions are until you really start digging into the weeds of how you implement the systems in practice. So what we're trying to do is give organizations the tool to say, oh, look, there is an issue here. I can go and sort that out myself. I don't have to rely on anyone to change the software for me, but then still put the safeguards in place and still make sure you can't mess the database up and all that kind of thing. And then we're here to support in that journey too. So I think there's a lot of need for it out there, and it's actually, businesses may seem simple on the surface, but if you go and actually sit and monitor where all the time's going, trying to find files in SharePoint and distracting the whole team, and there's a lot of efficiency gains there. And especially at the moment, there's a big opportunity to really try and help productivity out there.
Yeah, very much so. Okay. Probably longer than an elevator pitch, but if you were chatting, let's say, to a business owner over a cup of coffee before the presentation kicks off or something, from a business systems point of view, from a Kinebase sort of point of view, what advice or what topics would you say to a business owner that they need to sort of look at to be smarter, to be more efficient? What's the short list of questions you'd either ask them or that you'd ask them to ask themselves?
I'd probably start with just thinking about where your data is currently held in the business. Do you know where your data is? Is it sat on people's individual hard drives on laptops that could get lost potentially? Is it all in the cloud? If it is in the cloud, how are you organizing it? So I think it's really understanding what the critical data flows in the business is, and making and just being conscious of it, because it's a never-ending job in that there's always more improvements you can make. But I think it's being conscious of where your data is, being conscious of the vulnerabilities of that data, especially with cybersecurity. You've got to be on top of where all the personal data is held and where things are, because your business relies on everyone knowing what orders are coming in and who you're billing at the end of every month and that kind of thing. So being conscious of this stuff, being aware of the risks to it, and then making it simpler for your team, because there'll be loads of areas in the business where things are less efficient than they could be, and people are wasting time trying to find stuff. So it's really around my conversation point would be around, okay, have you thought about where this stuff is and where are the biggest pain points in there? And is there a way of either simplifying that or organizing it better to try and help you guys achieve more with what you're doing every day? So that's probably where I would start. But it really depends on where the conversations go as well, because there's so many different facets to a business. You've got the marketing side, you've got the sales side, the distribution side. That there's really kind of endless opportunities to try and optimize where data is held and organize data for clients.
Okay, cool. So a change of tack, the usual question at the end of all of these episodes, but hopefully not a hard question. Can I ask what your hopes are for the next 12 months? They can be your business hopes, your personal life hopes, aims. What's the next 12 months got in store, and what do you hope it has in store?
Yeah, so it's a really exciting time for us. So we're growing at the moment. We're looking to recruit, especially around kind of the operations side and in the software side. So we're growing our team quite rapidly. My hopes for the next 12 months, I want to reach far more businesses. We've got over 100 businesses around the UK and internationally signed up to our software. We really want to kind of expand upon that and help make a big impact for SMEs across the country. In terms of hopes, I'm really excited about the US market. Actually, we've got a manufacturer out there using Kinebase for literally everything, and it's really, really exciting because there's a foothold in there now, and there's a lot of opportunity to try and help take British software internationally and overseas, as opposed to the other way around where you're buying software in from American companies that you can't talk to face to face. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where we end up and try and expand internationally and B across the UK over the next 12 months.
Excellent. So on that note, then, how do people go about finding more about Kinebase, and how would they go about contacting yourself or following yourself?
So I'd suggest having a look at our website. So if you go to kinebase.com, that's probably the first point of call. You can also find me on LinkedIn. So if you search for Jason Mashinchi on LinkedIn, I'm probably the only one of those in the world. So you'll absolutely find me. But yeah, my takeaway, have a look at kinebase.com, reach out, and more than happy to have a conversation anytime.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for your time, Jason. This typically goes out at the weekend, so I guess it gives people a bit of time to reflect on, as you say, where their data's stored, the value of their data, how robust it is, how safe it is, and I guess how they handle that data is a lot of the value that is their business. So maybe that's something to reflect on over the weekend, and maybe check out Kinebase to see how you could help. So
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time.
No, thank you so much.
I'll wrap up with the usual. Oh, no problem. Good to have you. I'll wrap up with the usual words and say, if anyone would like to get in touch with the show with a comment, a suggestion, or in particular, if you'd like to appear in a future episode, please email us at inquiries@mtdcnc.com or contact myself, Stuart Whitehead, or Joe Reynolds. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. From me, Mark Weymouth at the Centre for Specialist Plus Automation. Cheers. Have fun.